Going live. The hangout is live. Okay, it looks like we are live. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. I am the elephant in the room. I am being joined today by Gary. Say hello, Gary.
Hello, how are you doing?
Fantastic. You were supposed to say hello, Gary. That would have been so funny. Okay, so today we are going to, well, first thing, I want to correct a mistake that I made, and we're going to go into a little bit more of my flat earth math that is oh so fun. So I have a slideshow that I'm going to bring up, and then we are going to talk about it. So last time I did a slideshow, and I showed using the uh, math that the Earth was 3,000 miles from the sun, and I showed that basically no matter where it was, it would be impossible for us to not see the sun. I have since been told that my numbers for the distance to the sun were wrong, which is horrible because I don't like to do bad math. The math was sound. However, if you use a number that's not right, obviously the result's not going to be right at the end. Okay, so I'm going to share this if I can. Okay, and oh, I probably need to present myself, don't I? Or something like that. Let me see how to do that. Present to everybody. There we go. So you seeing me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so actually, you know what? I think I gotta wait to go there. Am I still presenting? No. Okay. Okay. So, anywho, so the I was told that it was more closer to 4,000 some odd miles away, and that they got that by using this right here. This is an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangles are very special triangles, 60 degrees on each corner, and all sides are equal. Most of us are familiar with equilateral triangles from early geometry. Um, so basically, the experiment was that someone uh, at one point on the equator would find the sun at 60 degrees at noon, and then another person on the equator, or noon wherever the sun was, obviously, and then another person on the other side of the sun on the equator would measure up 60 degrees to the sun. Therefore, the distance between those two people would form the bottom leg of this triangle, and therefore the height to the sun would be that 4,000-mile distance. However, they forgot one thing. Obviously, this is an angle up to the sun, so we're not going to be able to judge the true height from that. The true height is going to be from the center of the base to the top. And now there's a nice fun way that we can do that, which I'm going to show you, that is actually going to come into play a little bit later. So with any straight segment or line, we can find the perpendicular bisector, which means the point at which a perpendicular line will go through the middle. And we take that by taking our compass, measuring about a little bit more than half, and then we go up here, we make a mark, we go down here, make a mark. Is that all on screen? Yeah, okay. It's a little bit out of focus, but we'll deal. Okay, so we've got our two marks here. And then we go to the other point that we want to mark off, and we mark again, like so. And then we take our straight edge, and if this works, it should go right through the center and up to the point of the triangle. Like so. So that's how we get a perpendicular bisector, which makes this a 90-degree angle. This is still a 60-degree angle, and this would be a 30-degree angle. Okay, not too difficult. Okay, so then the distance that I got, now what I did was I went onto a site, and I will post that in the links later on in the description, where you can actually plug in any longitude and latitude, time, date, all that stuff, and it will tell you exactly the direction to the sun and the altitude of the sun by angle. So I plugged in my data and I picked a couple of spots. Noon on March 20th, which is the vernal equinox, and I got 2 points on the equator at 60-degree angles. And the distance between those 2 points was, write this like this, 41,045.167. Okay, which means that this segment here is half of that. And since we know most of the information about the triangle, all we got to do is Pythagorean's theorem of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we come up with our actual height of that triangle, which would be the actual distance to the sun. So now that that's done, I can screen share this part. You following so far, Gary?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm not saying anything that doesn't make any sense yet, right?
No, it's just regular math.
Okay, cool. Okay, so sharing, and I am still presenting. Fantastic. Okay. So from that, we get our diameter of the Earth, which is 2,460 miles according to the flat Earth model. Proposed distance to the sun from a squared, b squared, c squared, all that stuff is 3,589.82 miles. And then from that and this 90-degree angle, we get the lowest angle the sun could possibly be visible at 8.22 degrees. And from Pythagorean theorem again, we get the farthest possible distance from anyone to the sun while on Earth is 25,177.85 miles. And here's the stuff I used if you want to try it yourself. And here's the actual formulas, how they end up. Okay, when you use trigonometry here. So that's about the most advanced that we get. Okay, so from that, I chose Mount Everest because it's the tallest mountain, and I wanted to see how far away from Mount Everest we'd have to be able to see the sun, if at its lowest possible angle. And so I put the angle in here and the height here, did trig again, and got 38.1 miles, distance to clear the tallest mountain. And here's what I used for that. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't help the cause of the flat earthers. Here's the intensity that I used, the intensity calculations that I used before. So 1 candle foot is approximately 10.764 lux, and that's the amount of light a birthday candle would give off at 1 foot away. And then full daylight sun is approximately 10,000 lux. Intensity is equal to the distance, the inverse of the distance squared. So we got our intensity 1, distance 1, and we plug those in over here, and we get, so basically what this is calculating is how far away would the sun have to be equal in brightness to a candle at 1 foot away. And that distance is 109,417 miles. And if we go back and look, the farthest possible distance anyone could possibly be to the sun while on Earth is 25,177.85 miles. So no matter where on Earth we would be, as long as we were 38.1 miles from a mountain, we should be able to see the sun. And so I wanted to figure out how far away it was. If it was 25,117 miles away, how bright it would actually be. So I did the formula again, putting that as my variable, and the answer is 202.8 lux. And twilight is approximately 10.8 lux. So the sun at twilight is approximately 10.8 lux. This is about 50 lux less than normal warehouse lighting. So that's the correction I wanted to make on that. But that actually drew me to something else. Because while I was doing my calculations on the equator to try to figure out the new distance to the sun, it occurred to me that I might want to try this during the solstices at the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. That might be fun, right? However, when I went to try to make my calculations, I noticed something odd. I could not place points on the Tropic of Capricorn or Cancer in order to make a 90-degree angle from north or south from those points to the sun. And then it occurred to me why. And the reason why is why this flat Earth model is not going to work. So let's go to the flat Earth model. Now, obviously, this is just, circles with a line kind of jutting through them. Let me try to focus in on this a little bit. This is a very crappy webcam. I don't have much of a budget for this. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay, cool. So, anywho, so what I did, I initially drew the circle, the outside circle. Then I drew from the middle point a straight line to a point just chosen at random to the outside circle. And then I did the perpendicular bisector like I showed before to get the middle point of that line, which would be the equator. And then I drew that circle as well. So now we have the equator and the outside edge of the flat Earth. So if I were to, for instance, say, well, let me just put it this way. On March 20th, that is the equinox, the vernal equinox, right? That means that the sun is going to basically travel directly overhead of the equator that day. So anywhere you are on the equator, if you took a compass and measured 90 degrees from north, it would point towards the sun, right? You there?
Uh, yeah, that should be right.
Yeah. So if you're on the equator, and it's the vernal or even autumnal equinox, you can take a compass, point 90 degrees, or even 180 because it's still going to go around, to the other side anyway, whatever. But say it's sunrise, right? And you point towards 90 degrees, you're going to see the sun. No matter where you are on the equator, that's going to happen, right? So here's the problem with that. If the sun is, say, here, and I'm here at this point, and I say, hey, I want to rotate 90 degrees from north and see the sun because it's the vernal equinox. So let's do our nice little trick for the perpendicular bisector again. Because this is going to create a 90-degree angle from that point. So this is me. I'm looking 90 degrees. I'm not hitting the sun. Why is that? If the Earth is flat, I'm on the equator, and I should be able to turn 90 degrees and see the sun, and we can prove that happens. You can go to the equator on March 20th, turn 90 degrees, and the sun will be exactly right there. However, this shows that it shouldn't be that way.
Oh, it's because the sun isn't farther enough out. It's too close in.
Because if the sun is traveling along in this circle, no matter which point you choose, if you go 90 degrees out from it, you're never going to hit that sun because it's always going to be outside of that circle.
Yeah, because it's not away from the Earth; it's over it.
Right. However, if we go to a spherical model, it's going to make my random spherical circle here. Hopefully, is that way too big?
No, you're fine.
Okay. And then let's draw a line straight through it. Almost too big. Wow. Draw my line straight through it. So there is the equator, as it would look if we were looking at it from the side. And then, just to be scientific about this, we will do perpendicular bisector again. in order to find our North Pole and South Pole. North Pole, South Pole. Okay. Now, if I'm standing here, and there's the North Pole, obviously we would have nice, lines like that or whatever. And the sun is right here up in the sky, and I turn 90 degrees from north, I'm going to be facing along the equator, no matter how long along the equator I go because of the way a sphere acts. A sphere rotates from the top of the sphere 90 degrees in kind of like a little wedge shapey here. That would be 90 degrees on a sphere. No matter if the line you drew was straight or whatever, just because of the way a sphere acts. That angle there is going to be 90 degrees. So that's why we can see the sun at 90 degrees during the equinox, because the Earth is a sphere. It's not too difficult, but
Oh yeah, I seen this in a video when she says on a sphere uh, you can do what 3 90-degree turns and you should end back up where you uh, started on the Earth on the sphere, but you can't do that on the flat Earth, and that's why the sun is always going to be out of position because you can't get it on the flat Earth. Period. You can't go 90 degrees and go 90 degrees and go 90 degrees again and get back to where you started.
I don't know about that. I mean, it'll still be 90. It'll still be 90 degrees. Maybe there's something about the poles
Well,
or something.
no, I'm saying on a sphere, of course you can do it, but you can't do it on the flat Earth because you can't go 90 degrees on a flat surface like that. You wouldn't get a
Yeah, I
turn
think
at all.
Yeah, I think if you exploded the ball out to the flat Earth, then the representation, since it grows, it might be 390 degrees instead of 4 or whatever. But yeah, like on the Earth here, it'll still be 490-degree turns. That's why our compasses have 360 degrees on them,
Yeah,
because and flat earthers don't deny, at least the ones that I've met, don't deny that the compass needle does point towards north here. So
yeah,
if I
they have to.
point my
That's yeah, that's why they say when you circumvent the Earth that you travel in a circle because the needle only points north. It won't actually point south. So
right, so when I stand on the equator and my compass needle is pointing towards the north and I turn 90 degrees away from it, I should see the sun because that's what happens in reality. But according to the very simple geometry of it, that shouldn't happen according to flat Earth model. I thought I was going crazy when I first started doing the no. Here's all the kind of calculations and stuff that I've been doing, trying to find that long and all that stuff, and I was like, why is this giving me points above and below the tropics for my 90-degree stuff here? It doesn't make any sense.
no,
And
no, none of them makes any sense.
and well, but then I realized, because the Earth is a sphere, when let me draw this out too, because this might actually be good too to explain why that works or why that doesn't work on the spherical model. Okay, so if we have our sphere here, it's almost, not quite, but almost. So this is a sphere, and if the sun is here, then the tropics, the Earth is going to be tilted towards the sun, and you're going to get a thing that kind of looks like this. There's the equator, and then there's the other. I mean, obviously, it's way, way, way out of proportion. Tropics are a lot closer to the equator than anything. But anywho, so if the sun is directly above this point here, and I am here, obviously that's not going to be 90 degrees to the sun, plain and simply. I would have to move up in order to make it 90 degrees to the sun.
Yeah, you're off the screen with that. I can't see what you're doing.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay.
It's a little better. So sun's here, the point's here, obviously, because it's shining directly on, axis is tilted. Obviously, this is way out of scale, but um, the sun's pointing here, and then I'm further along on the Earth. Obviously, once the Earth rotates to when I'm here, then I will be directly beneath the sun. However, since I'm here, and this is here, and this is a curved surface, if I go 90 degrees, I'm not going to be going towards the sun. I would have to move up on the Earth in order to go closer to the sun. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's why it'll work on the equator, because the equator is around the very largest part of the sphere, but it will not work on the, the tropics because those are on a more curved part. But what I was going to do there was show the distance, how the distance differs, and the distance would differ by about 100 something miles, but again, not truly important when it all gets down to it. So, but it's really simple stuff like this that I like, because you can just go, hey, look, right here, we know, and I would love to have, if I got no viewers right now, but man, I had some last time. Maybe this is just the wrong time. But
Uh, 7, maybe.
but but yeah, I lost my train of thought. But I would love somebody to come in here and just, at least, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Have some kind of, thing backing it up. But nobody that I've ever talked to would disagree that compass needles point north, and nobody that I've ever talked to would disagree that if you're on the equator during an equinox, that the sun will be at 90 degrees relative to your position, no, relative to north. And the only way that that actually works out is on a spherical model. So, anything to say about all that fun math stuff?
No, no, math is math.
Is there
I,
anywhere?
I don't, I don't
Go
know
ahead.
if any of them would disagree with your calculations, but most of the flat earthers I talk to don't actually offer explanations. They just says it doesn't work on the baller. So
Well, yeah, I think it's awesome that this is simple stuff that people can do on their own, and it doesn't take much. I mean, a compass is a couple of bucks at the store. Most people already have one already, and a ruler. I mean, I didn't even have to use a protractor. I've got a ruler over here too that I was going to use. I just happen to have the protractor handy.
yeah,
So,
even if you don't have a compass, they have an app for that. I'm pretty sure you'll be fine.
oh well, I'm saying the circle drawing compass type, and yes, they definitely have an app for that. They have apps for all that kind of stuff, and it amazes me that with the sheer amount of evidence, how much you have to have blinders on to not be able to see that, look, this is how it works, man.
I don't know. Most of them, I'm not even sure if they're serious about the flat Earth. I think they're just trolling sometimes, just to be trolling. But
I
I
think
don't
there are
think some of
yeah
them.
I
I
think
don't think they believe it.
yeah I think there's a bunch of those out there too, but I mean, I definitely think there's some that are true about it. Honestly, if if they were all posed, I wish they would just be like, look, this is all satire, just laugh, and then we could all go on with our lives. But if I was running around teaching everybody that, the sun is actually a glowing pancake and that it's going to fall, in the next year or something like that, and trying to be reasonable at that, you'd think I was nuts.
Right. Well, I had one of them even tell me that, how do I know the planets are round? And I was like, what? What do you mean? How do we know the planets are? That the planets are also spheres. And I'm like, I mean, you have Saturn. It has rings around it. I mean, come on.
So
It's
we can see these things, right? Like it's not
yeah. We can see
we.
them spinning. The landscape changes as they spin, and then it comes back around to be the same landscape again.
I don't know what kind of thing you'd have to do to make that happen and actually still be flat, but yeah. So um Now I got people coming in. Hopefully, I did the math a little earlier. If hey, anybody out there, if you know a flat earther that wants to argue a point or two, send them in this way. Or if you are a flat earther that's watching this, join. The link's in the description. I welcome all comers.
No, you getting some viewers. I don't know. I don't know if there's too many flat earthers left. I know Jamal Williams. He's no longer a flat earth. I think he gave that up. He still believes the Earth is stationary though.
Yeah. Hopefully they're dying off. I mean, not dying off, but you know what I mean.
Seeing the light, you mean? I got you.
The elephant in the room wishes harm on no man, um, or women for that matter, or a mix of the two. I don't know. Whatever you are, I wish you no harm.
I'm pretty sure it's. I mean, there's just too much wrong with it, and it doesn't offer enough explanations to be an explanation.
Yeah, it seems like each explanation has to be explained, and then that explanation has to be explained, and it's just keeps on going out into infinity.
Well, that's what I mean. Some of them don't even explain anything. They just say we know it's not the other way, but no, your explanation doesn't work at all. I mean, it doesn't explain anything.
Yeah, well, I can definitely say for certain that it's not flat. I think the proof is in the drawing here today, and and maybe it's not a ball. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I've never been into space to see it, but the math shows that it's not flat. So you're gonna have to come up with something better. Maybe it's donut shaped. I don't know.
Donut shape. I don't think it could be donut shape.
Have you seen that one? There's one out there for the donut
Are you
shaped
talking about
Earth.
the? Are you talking about concave or no? Concave would be the opposite way, where we're on the inside of a
Yeah.
sphere.
No, there's a donut shaped Earth one somewhere. I can't remember where it was. I might try to look that up real quick. Um,
Oh, well, the middle isn't hollow. It isn't hollow. It's just like a point in the middle. It's kind of. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen that one too.
yeah, that was yeah. It's just crazy. Flat Earth Society. Oh man, I thought there was already a number of silly beliefs to believe in, and then this gets thrown out there.
Oh, it's funny to me because I heard one of the flat earthers discouraging other flat earthers to go to the Flat Earth Society, saying that they were a joke in putting out falsehoods about the flat Earth. And I was like, what? Now they're going against each other.
Yeah, the evolution of this is just it seems like everybody's trying to outpo the other person, but I think some people are falling for it, thinking that you're right.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
fine.
okay. Sounded like you got ground into some gears or something.
Oh no, clocking out of work. I'm still at work,
Ah, okay,
but I'm about
okay.
to leave. But I'm about to leave, so
Alrighty,
I have to actually punch the time clock.
there we go. Punching out. Gosh, I haven't punched out literally or figuratively in a while. Gosh, hourly jobs. Oh, yep. I don't think I have had one of those since I was 18. Yep. But yeah, I think somewhere along the way somebody got caught up in the PONUS and didn't realize it was all fake, and then they started believing it and started teaching other people, and then now it's like just a random mess. You never know what you're gonna get with these people,
Right.
whether it whether it's true belief or just sarcasm or what. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah. I haven't talked to any of them lately. Talked to Arcane, but neither one of them really offer explanations. They just say they know it's not a ball. So
Right. Yeah, Pillbox got linked to this, but obviously he hasn't shown up, so Pobox. Yeah, Pobox got linked here, but yeah, I ain't seen him. So I guess he doesn't want to defend his classic uh, flat Earth. Guess it doesn't mean that much to him. That's fine.
Well, you know what he would say. You believe you evolved from a monkey? I can't help you. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so this is the second one of these I've done. I'm going to be looking for other little simple proofs of why flat Earth doesn't work. Is there anything that jumps to your mind? Anything simple that like uh, you know, heck, a junior high school kid could experiment with and figure out, hey,
Well,
this is
this
how
is
the
what I
world
was
works.
telling you. When I was actually watching the video earlier, and like I said, the guy's name is Tiger Dan. Um, what is it? 925 or something like that. I don't know. But he has a video. He was a flat earther, and he said he started looking into it a little bit more, and he was mainly interested about how Antarctica is supposed to go all the way around the entire planet, I guess. And he noticed that he found out that there's actual flight from South America to Australia, which is a problem on a flat Earth. That shouldn't be possible for you to fly that way. And there's from they actually do the same flight to Africa, and you pass right by Antarctica. And actually, people go to Antarctica all the time. So this whole idea about Antarctica being closed off and no one can go there is pretty much ridiculous.
Oh
You
no,
do you do just
when they fly over Antarctica like that, they just take a little trip outside over space and then come right back in. It's fine.
well, that was one of the main problems. First, they were saying that you just go, they're just flying along the edge, and it's like, but they're flying along the edge on both sides. There shouldn't be two sides of Antarctica. There should just be one.
Right.
So,
And nobody looks out of their seat, out of their window, and sees the vastness of space, like crumbling beneath them, and going, "Oh my gosh, where
oh
are
yeah,
we?"
yeah. And, there's dozens of pictures, and actual pictures of people who went to the South Pole and literally flown drones up there. So it's just ridiculous for you to say nobody's been to Antarctica.
Yeah, but people have flown missiles up and hit the dome, man. You can see videos of it. You hear it clunk.
Yeah, and one of the big things for flat earthers is that no planes fly anywhere over Antarctica. But once again, they say you can go to any travel site, just put in, I think they said Chile to Sydney, and it'll take you right past Antarctica.
Yeah, and
I
even
think
the
it's
flight
about
paths, even the flight paths of normal flights are because
yeah,
of the globe Earth.
yeah,
Because if you look at all of the flights, nobody does like straight line from here to here or whatever.
right.
There's always a curve to it, and
Well,
that's
actually,
because
the one from Chile to Sydney is pretty much straight. It goes right past the edge of Antarctica, just straight across.
but not what I'm saying. Like if you look at like from Chicago to Los Angeles,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You'll see that goes north first and then comes south, kind of like a just big arc. And there's no
oh yeah,
reason to do that other than the fact that that's actually if you because the map is distorted, a flat map is
yeah.
distorted. If you looked at that on a globe, that would actually be a straight line distance on a globe.
Yeah, he was showing the flight because if you look at the flat Earth model, since they have Australia and South America so far apart, you would have to fly over the ocean and go all the way down to Antarctica, and then fly by Antarctica for an hour, and then fly all the way back up to Sydney, which makes no sense at all. The flight should be, I mean, you're pretty much flying around the globe, the length of the United States just to get to Sydney. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Makes you wonder sometimes. But
But
I'm glad I got on here to correct my mistake on the last one. So, yeah, no, according to the flat Earth model, I've definitely heard 3,000 miles away, but apparently it's not 3,000 anymore. It's what was it, 3,580.67.
almost 4,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's not much
Well,
difference, but
Yeah, said that doesn't make any sense, but
Yeah. So anybody who's watching this, if you see or hear a claim and it sounds silly, research it. Do the work yourself. Figure out a way that it could be possibly disproven, and then try to disprove it. Do it yourself, man. You can do this stuff. I'm just a 33-year-old nobody. I don't have a science degree or anything, and I can show people, hopefully, that are willing to listen that the stuff's not real. So yeah, if there's anything else that you want to talk about, I'm gonna pretty much open up this hangout. If anybody else wants to come in for any reason, go ahead. Challenge me on that. Challenge me on whatever. But I'm just gonna kind of turn this into an open hangout. So if you got anything that you want to talk about, Gary, go ahead.
no, not really. I'll post a link on my page. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to do it on this dang phone. Hold on a second.
Hey, he's doing this stuff on the phone is a pain in the butt sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Alrighty, let's try this. Alrighty, let me post this link
Yeah, I
here.
can. Yeah, I can't get to my G Plus from here while I'm on the phone. Won't let me go back in there.
Fine. That is no problem at all.
Otherwise, I post it on my page, but I'll be home in a little bit. So.
That's fine. Oh, so I'm gonna hang out here for a bit and see if anybody else wants to chime in here. Um,
I don't think anything's going on tonight. They may still be talking about that true empiricism debate they posted last night.
oh yeah, I know Red had a hangout going on. I noticed that right as I started mine. I was like, damn it, he's gonna pull a bunch of people, but
His
that's
wasn't.
fine.
His wasn't live though.
Well, it's still gonna pull people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, maybe not viewers, but it's gonna pull contributors. So I've seen you in some hangouts before, haven't I, Gary? Obviously, since you probably came to this one.
Yeah, probably. MK put your link out.
Oh, okay. So you're okay. You head to MK's channel. That's probably where I've seen you. I like your picture, by the way. Your
Oh
your
yeah, everybody
icon
loves
there.
the picture. I don't know. Does it move when I'm on the phone, or is it
Yes, it does.
stationary?
It still moves.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
get the scary face every once in a while. I've been watching. It sucks because I'm away from my wife right now, and we watch Doctor Who together on Netflix, and so we're stuck. Neither of us can watch Doctor Who until I get back. So we're dying. I'm so dying for some more Doctor Who. But yeah, can't do it right now. That would be mean if I
so,
got ahead of her in the series.
so you're not caught up in the series.
No, 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 no. I'm not. I'm still on 10th Doctor.
What?
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm still on 10th Doctor, man. We I got watching late, and I started watching the older ones first, and then I started watching the new ones, and so then my wife and I started watching together, and we just fell in love with it. But like I said, we would always watch together, and a lot of the she works nights and I work days, so there's only a couple of days a week where we can really sit back and watch an episode. So it's like one or two a week, so it's slow goings, but it's definitely very interesting and love the series. One of the things I got her for her birthday last year was a TARDIS tea strainer thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you're still on Tenet, but what Tenet was a really, that was a really good series. Hated to see him go. So.
I loved 9 was good, 10 is good. I haven't seen 11 yet, so I don't know. But
Yeah, then it goes to Matt Smith and then Capaldi. Uh,
gosh, is it that far in? Wow, man, I'm missing a lot. What
oh
number is
yeah.
it on now?
Which Doctor? 12.
Yeah, is it on
Well,
12?
I don't know if it's 12 or 13. It's a little weird.
I can imagine. It's all wibbly wobbly.
And they like threw another Doctor in there, so.
Did they bring back one of the older ones for a minute or something? Or
I don't want to spoil it for you.
okay, okay, okay. No problem there. Gotcha. Someone have to
That's,
wait.
oh yeah, that's just that some doctors start popping up out of the woodwork.
Well, that's like in the early series. Um, there was a series of episodes because back in the day they did like 4 or 5 episodes, and that was their season, but it was all one story.
Yeah,
And one of them, three of the three of the first what 5 or 6 Doctors, three of them were all in the same little series. It was kind of neat.
yeah. That you'll get to that. You're probably uh let me see. It depends on where you're at in the what season you're in, but
I
yeah,
I I let's see. So he's met the master, and I think it's close to the second time the master comes up because I think I saw what that in one of the descriptions of the things. So
right. Yeah, so you're almost to the end of Tenet's run, and then after that you'll be in the other one. But then at the end of his run, they do one of those where they have 2 or 3 doctors in one
oh,
episode.
cool, cool, very cool.
Yes, yeah, you'll like the next season's pretty good with Matt Smith. You'll like that one.
Well, I can't wait to get home and see it. About a month I can go home. Oh, so what's your views apart from flat Earth stuff? Are you religious, atheist, Buddhist, I
I
don't
am
know,
a deist,
deist? Okay, okay, fair enough.
which I usually don't have too much problem with any atheists or anything. With deists and atheists, you don't have too many disagreements.
Well, you're functionally an atheist, so I mean it's okay.
Oh my god. Okay, Matt.
I had to say that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, you Matt flicked me. That's cool.
No, I mean I get it. It's definitely a view that I could have held at one point. Um,
Right.
and I mean I might in the future. I have no idea, but it's hard to say like with so much unknown out there. It's hard to say that there's not. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Right. Oh yeah, I 100% get what you're saying. That's funny because I was watching True Empiricism's his debate. Who was he debating again? I can't remember. He was talking to Negation of P. That was last night. And the way he was I guess the way Negation of P was describing um uh his non-theistic creator is kind of what deists would say, because true empiricism kept making this assertion that atheism, meaning without theism, means that you don't believe in a creator, and I don't know where he got that from.
yeah. No, it's um, I don't know. It's hard to pin down a definition there because there's definitely a lot floating around. You know, with the hard atheism and the gnostic atheist and the agnostic atheist and all that crazy stuff. You know, and there's so many people that want to like assign attributes to the universe and be like, well, the universe is God. Well, that's just word salad at that point. You know what I mean? Like just saying the universe is God is not adding anything to the universe. It's just giving it a new
Oh yeah,
name.
yeah. I never liked that argument that God is everything. He's the trees, he's the water, the birds, and all that. Everything's God. I like that. That doesn't make sense because if God's everything and God's nothing, because that doesn't make any sense. That's my position always been. If God is everything, then he's nothing because there's nothing to differentiate him between anything if he's everything.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the old saying that if everybody's special, then nobody's special.
Right.
Which kind of goes along with, I can't remember the exact stat. I got to look that up so I can memorize that. But it's something like over 70% of people think they're above average, which
Above
obviously,
average?
yeah, it's like some stupid, like some 70 or 80% of people think they're above average, and it's like that that can't possibly be true.
Because there are no average people, really. I mean, that's a high number. I mean, I think it's pretty high, 70%. That's crazy. But I guess it's like the question G Man asked me because I guess who's he mad at? He was mad at Dragnot because he said something about people being ignorant, and he was like, "Oh, do you think there could be ignorant people?" And I told him, "Ignorant about what?" No, he said just straight ignorant. And I was like, "Well, no, I think you can be ignorant about a specific topic, but I don't think you can be just straight ignorant. I mean, how do you achieve that? I mean, you know something. I mean, just like I told him, some people are better at some things than other people, but that doesn't make that person ignorant because they don't know, math better than other people. That doesn't mean they're ignorant. They could be the best checker player but they don't know that much about math.
Right.
But he wanted to just have kind of like a generalized ignorance, and I was like, no, I don't think that's the thing.
Yeah, I guess there's a term for it. It's called illusory superiority. It's a cognitive bias whereby individuals overestimate their own qualities and abilities relative to others.
Hmm.
And I guess most people fall under that.
Right.
So yeah, that's obviously we're not all above average.
I would say most people are average.
Well, I would say very few people are average.
Hmm.
If you really wanted to look at it mathematically, because average would be the mean of everybody. So that would be the very center line. Most people would be either above or below average. Very few people are truly average.
Okay, I can see that. Well, I guess you'd be right. It'd be depending on which end of the scale you're on, and then you have your select few in the middle.
Yeah, if you're a 51, then now obviously if you widen the range a little bit, if you say average is from 40 to 60, then with the if there's a bell curve effect in there, then probably more people would be average than not. But so what about before you became a deist? Was there a belief system in place with you before that?
Not real. I went to church and everything, and my parents, grandparents tried to get you into church, and oh, you should come to church. Just pray about it. And it's like, hold on a second.
Okay, no problem. Life sometimes comes in and sweeps away the conversation. That's okay.
Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Hold on a second. uh, hold on a
Hey,
second.
take your time. That's fine, man.
Okay.
Nobody's watching. Nobody's here, man. Take your time.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna try to look. Oh, oh, he's back.
Okay. Sorry about that, man. I had to pick up some hitchhikers. Whatever. Oh, okay. They're not hitchhikers.
Hello.
Oh, they can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. Don't.
Did you close the lift gate? No, you did not. I thought you did. No. I didn't know you could close it from inside. Will you get that? Oh, you man.
I was worried that you got pulled over or something. I was like, oh no.
No, no, no. I didn't get pulled over. It's just.
I was like, this is gonna be a bad end to a hangout, man.
Oh no, my daughter was walking down the street and I stopped and picked her up. So she's cool. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Before you were a deist.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just I went to church and everything. I had a lot of questions that of course never got answered. And I was in limbo for a little while, didn't know what I believed in. I guess that's eventually what I settled on was deism.
So, do you have a main reason for believing in a deist god over no god?
I find it hard to accept the no God scenario. You know, at
Okay.
some points I think it would be easier or simpler, but it doesn't fit right with me based on what I've seen so far.
Okay. Fair enough. No, I can understand that. You have religious close family still, or are you?
Most of my family is still religious. Uh, some of like my wife's parents, they were pretty religious. So. Actually, they're Mormons, so it's like even worse. They're like religious Mormons, so it's like crazy. They're like, you can
Mormons.
come in. Mormons, yes, indeed.
Mm.
So I had to look into that, which I was just like shocked.
Yeah, my dad is actually a Christian, and he can't stand Mormons.
Somebody says, "Hey, check this out. What do you think?" And I checked it out. And what I think is just like I don't know how anybody could ever believe it.
Yeah, I was Christian myself for a while. I believed it wholeheartedly, and I don't know if it was because I look back on it, and I think part of it was because I was a child when I you know became a Christian, when I prayed for Jesus to take my soul and all that fun stuff, and I don't know if it was more motivated by fear or to try to please my dad or what, but there was definitely a lot of other things going on during then, and so I mean I've always had a Bible, of read it from time to time, But I didn't do a whole lot of reading. But when I was with my dad, we would go to church and do stuff like that. My parents had been divorced for quite a while, and so I would actually go out and spend summers with my dad because we lived on pretty much opposite sides of the country. And so I'd go visit my dad. We'd go to church and all that stuff. My mom wasn't super religious in the fact that she didn't go to church, but she still believes in God and all that fun stuff, the Christian God. And it wasn't until I was an adult and actually started reading the Bible that I started to have a bunch of questions. And then at first they were simple questions because I didn't know a whole lot, but the more I knew, the harder the questions got and the less answers I got. And I went from there and I started looking stuff up online and kind of figured, it doesn't make sense to believe in anything that you don't have a reason to. If there's no reason to believe it, it doesn't make any sense. So don't do that. And so that's what.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Like for me, I probably held on to Christian's beliefs a little longer than I would have, but my parents and everything, they kind of wanted me to look into it and go with your feelings, and I looked into it a little longer than probably I would have, but in the end, it just too many gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, I still haven't really told my wife and my close family, well, my wife and my kids, I should say, and a few other key people in my family know, but for the most part, none of my other family know yet. It's just a conversation I really don't want to have, especially
Right.
being separated from it, because I'm not in physical proximity to anyone of my like my mom, my dad, any of that. So without being able to be there and talk to them instead of like trying to talk on the phone or online or something like that, I don't want to have that conversation.
No, so was yours more recent?
Um, yeah, yeah. I really can't pinpoint like an actual date, but um, it's definitely within the last couple of years.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I probably stopped believing before I realized I stopped believing. So it's probably been longer than that, but I just never really realized it.
Uh, Mine just kind of always been the same. Most people just kind of felt I was religious, but I wasn't actually. You seem religious. Like really? Like why do I seem religious? I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, no, you seem religious because you're a good person, and that's one thing that aggravates me too. Is they're like, "Oh wow, I can't believe you're not religious. You're such a good person." It's like,
No,
well, they're not mutually exclusive. You don't have to be religious to be good.
right. Well, see, like me, I don't smoke and I don't drink or anything like that. So people immediately mean, oh, you don't drink, you don't smoke, nothing. Oh, wow, you must be religious. Like, no, I'm not religious. I just don't smoke and drink. The only religious, I mean, most religious people I know smoke and drink.
Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy in that too. But it's funny, you talk about smoking and drinking too, because so many people that have addictions and stuff like that end up turning to God, and I think that ends up being just one addiction for another.
Yeah, I actually, what was I watching? I think I was watching the Atheist Experience, and they were saying that how most of the research facilities are Christian based.
Yeah.
So in order for you to go through the 12-step program, the 12-step program involves getting involved with the church or something like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't help, especially when you make yourself feel like you can't help yourself. When
Right.
you start to make yourself feel powerless, then it's just going to make things worse. And I
Yeah,
think that's why.
that's
uh,
like a couple of years ago. Me and my wife we were going to look into couples counseling, and it was the same thing. It's religious couple counseling. Like we don't need no religious couple counseling.
yeah, you can interact with other people without a freaking mystical being and getting involved in that.
Oh yeah.
But I do have to say, if there was a God, I definitely have to think a deist type god would be the most likely. If a god exists, he's got to be at least indifferent to what's going on.
Oh yeah,
If not, just a complete asshole that fucking hates us.
yeah. I've kind of always had a problem with God's chosen people. Like he picked the people. That's a little weird there.
Yeah, it's always funny. That's one of the arguments I like to bring up in a lot of these hangouts too. Is when people start talking about the Bible and all that stuff, and I'm like, look, suppose for a moment that there was a God that was completely evil, and he just wanted to confuse everybody and just play around with them for a bit. How do we know that's not the world we live in?
Oh, this sounds like oh, what's his name? Stephen Law as actually he did a debate against William Lane Craig where he brought that up. Whether or not if it's implausible, because William Lane Craig said it would be impossible to have a benevolent God that was evil instead of good. and But he said if you think about it, all the arguments for a good God would work for an evil God. If it's not logical to think there could be an all evil God, then it's not logical to think there could be an all good God.
And if it's just as likely to be an all evil God than it is to be the God of the Bible, then now it's
Right.
just a coin flip. So,
Yeah. 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 It just depends on how you see God, if he's good or evil. He wouldn't actually. Well, the way Christians describe him, it is he um, he can't be evil or good the way they describe. Well, they describe him as only being good, but really he wouldn't be evil or good because nothing he does would be evil. That doesn't mean it's good though.
yeah, that's the other thing too is that, everybody's like, oh, well, whatever God does is good. Well, by what standard? By his standard? Well, then, yeah, everything Hitler did was good by his own standard. So that doesn't really give us anything. If there's a universal standard, then what is that standard and where does that come from?
Yeah, I don't think there would be a universal standard. So.
Well, and the only standard that we can really give is from ourselves. And I
Well,
think that, if a being creates other sentient life, then they have a responsibility to that creation. They don't get to just do whatever they want. You can't create sentient life and then just play with it as you choose, unless you're immoral, I guess.
right. Now, what are your thoughts on objective morality?
Objective morality.
Mm-hmm.
See, I got a kind of a weird thought on that because I don't like to play word games, but morality is one where I really think that it ultimately depends on your definition of what morality is, because morality can be described as a lot of things. And if you think morality is just the stuff you should or shouldn't do, I don't think that there is an objective morality for, what anybody ought to or ought not do at any given point. However, if you do then define morality as something that, you know, helps people without hurting people, or, I can't remember the exact terminology that I've heard used, but in that situation where if it's, because people always like to use the terms good and bad, but you have to really insert to who. You know what I mean? Good to who or
Right.
bad to who. And
Right. Are you
so,
talking about the argument where they say morality is promoting well-being?
yeah, 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 well-being. So if it promotes well-being and doesn't cause harm, then it's moral. It kind of goes along with that, but again, you have to really define moral to who, because to me, promoting well-being for the human race, that's all well and good. However, there's also the entire Earth to consider. There's also other animal species.
Right.
So,
Well, for me, morality would be just basically a social construct, and the key word there for me is the social part, because you don't get morality with just a single being by itself. It requires multiple beings.
right,
Now, if you have the universe and the only being in existence is God, he's not being moral to himself. That doesn't make any sense.
right.
You couldn't even judge him to be moral unless you have a society. So when he created human beings, according to the narrative, that's when you would get morality then.
Right.
But then,
Yeah.
the necessary part of that isn't God. The necessary part is actually the additional entities that are there.
Right. And yeah, no, I agree with you there. It's definitely a social construct. Um, that
Right. So
there's
the necessary part isn't God. The necessary part is the the, the society. Without the society, you can't have morals. Period.
right, and if that's the case, then we have the ability to look at God if he exists and draw moral conclusions based off of ourselves.
Well, right. But once again, morals would come from a society. That's why I don't think there could be objective
Hmm.
morality because
Right. Yeah.
the,
No.
the, the
I think if you look at the weird thing I was talking about, I think if you look at it, morals as the well-being thing.
mhm,
So say morals are just advancing the well-being for the human race, right? Then I
right,
think every action that you have, if you had perfect knowledge, which none of us do, but every action that you take could be determined to be moral or immoral or amoral, but we don't have the knowledge to make that determination. You know what I mean? So if I go and I take my beer bottle and I throw it away, that's an action that could lead to, you know, good or bad effects for the human race.
right.
So that could be objectively determined to be good or bad. So that is the only time that I possibly could see objective morals really coming into the way we are now. But I don't think that's a good way to describe morals because, like you said, it's definitely a social construct. You see it in other social animals. You see it in apes. You see it in you see it in pack animals. You see it in wolves. If a wolf does something bad within its pack, it gets exiled. It's punishment.
Right.
They have morals. They have things that they don't want to do to each other. And if you are one of those people that does it, you get removed from society.
Oh yeah, that's like I was watching one documentary where they had a can't remember what it was. It was kind of like a cow or something, and they were migrating. And of course, the lions were right behind them. If any of the smaller animals or the calves or anything fell behind, the lions would of course scoop them up real fast. But the mother was trying to protect them so they can make the migration. But if one of them did fall behind, the mother sometimes would think about going back to try to save them, but knew she couldn't because she had to save the other calf. And she would have to let that one calf go. But that, the moral decision was let the one calf go to save the whole litter, because otherwise they could probably run and grab the other ones.
Yep. Yeah, and it's amazing how the more we look at animals and the more we study how many human characteristics that we find in them. Like you look at penguins that give their mates rocks to try to impress them,
Right.
and things like that, and stuff that we would think that only we would do, but no, we if we look at the animals long enough, we see that they're doing the same things that we're doing, just on a different level, because they're on a different level at this point. And the weird part is trying to see if for consciousness purposes, how conscious are any of these animals.
Oh yeah.
Because they have their own languages, they have their own rules, they have their own laws, and you know again, they're living beings. We know they're alive, and we know they have some kind of thought process. And so then do morals now extend past that? Because like I was saying earlier, other sentient beings have rights also. You know what I mean? We can't just decide what happens with other sentient beings. Non-sentient beings, that's kind of up for grabs. I don't see any real difference in that. But yeah, other sentient life, it yeah, it kind of starts breaking down then because now we don't have
Well,
to think of just other people. We have to think of other life forms and stuff like that. And we have to think long term too. Morals are going to extend also into preserving wildlife and preserving our natural resources and things like that. It's not just us.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I finally got home and now I can get on my G Plus and I see there's actually a couple of other hangouts going on right now. Looks like
Yeah,
Deckle has one going on. Uh, the Holy Spackle Deidre has one going on. And not sure if this one for Dragnut is still going on or not, but yeah, quite a few.
that's
This
fine.
one that I got. And Brother John has one too. And,
Gosh, everybody's got one. I
yeah,
figured Thursday would be safe, but
well, everybody, it's not really safe. Everybody seems to be having a little bit of one going on. And they're all different ones too. One, oh, and Max has one going on.
who's that?
Oh, that's the, Max used to be Epicurus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my stance on morals. It's a little weird. Objective morals, depending on how you define them, could be possible, but I don't think that it really bears any weight in what decisions we make.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I think definitely if you try to assign morals to a god, then you ultimately get into the okay, well, is it moral because God says it, or is it God says it because it's moral? And now it's the oh, well, it's because it's God's nature. Well, how do you know God's nature is good and not evil?
All right.
So, and it's not hard. Like it's not like you have to delve too deep into philosophy because I've taken one philosophy class, and most of the time I don't even use the stuff from it. So it's just simple baby questions that anybody could ask. That you know, I'm waiting for my kids actually to get a little bit older before I start talking with them about this kind of thing because unfortunately from they've been indoctrinated and I was a Christian from with them growing up too, so you know part of it's my fault, but I don't want them to go through life just believing what they've been taught. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same
Oh
time, I don't want to just, wake them up one morning and be like, "Hey, kids, good morning, time to go to school." And oh, by the way, everything you know is wrong. Sucks to be you.
yeah, I'm posting a link now. And is it just open topic or did you?
No, it's open topic at this point. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I just put open link.
I'm gonna try to start hosting more hangouts, and I just wanted to give it a shot. At least, I start with a topic that way I had somewhere to go. I was hoping to get a couple of people in. I wanted to have an argument about circles. I thought that would be funny.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I gotta check out. I need to see if it worked this time. The last time I did one of these, it didn't enable the live chat, so I'm trying to see if the the live chat's working like it's supposed to, and and it's not. Awesome.
Oh,
Gosh,
I
I need
haven't.
to
I've
figure that
never
out.
actually. I never actually hosted a hangout, so I've always just been on.
Google Plus is fairly non-intuitive, so
Well, yeah, it started getting real glitchy, so and for some reason, my Hangouts used to work real good on my Chrome browser, and now it's just ridiculous. You know?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't messed around too much with like being on the phone for anything for the stuff. I just use my computer. Man, it hasn't been too bad with me here. Internet's kind of crappy, but
Yeah, yeah.
it
Looks like chat is disabled for this thing.
it's just all the other little features for it, trying to figure out bouncing between YouTube and G plus. It's just not everything works all the time,
It
and it
actually works
starts.
better. Yeah, it works better on my phone than it does on my laptop. It's annoying. It used to
And
work
it,
really good on the laptop and crappy on the phone, and now it's opposite way
and it starts checked, which is weird. So I don't understand why the live chat isn't working. But if anybody could help me out with that at any point, post a comment in the thing or jump into the room and let me know now or whatever. But anywho, it's open topic. The link to join is in the description. It's also on my G plus, and heck, I'll put one in the comments just to make sure nobody misses it. How about that?
around. Yeah, yeah. I posted it on my profile as well. So.
So we're talking about so far flat Earth, God, atheism, deism, any other ism probably that you might want to talk about. Will probably be okay.
Yeah, every once in a while I can touch this stuff. Yeah, probably.
Gosh. Oh shoot, I can't put comments in it now, duh, because it's stupid. Forgot about that. Bad YouTube is bad. And now there's two Garys. Oh my gosh! They're multiplying.
Switching over. Okay.
I can deal with one week.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm switching over from the phone to my laptop. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, that's nice and loud now.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. All right, cool. Now it's working. Not too loud, am I?
No, you're good. You've got a. I noticed there's a noise reduction thing going on. So, but otherwise, yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah, that's my. I just got a new headset. My other one kept crapping out on me, so I had to get this one. Because I was using my Beats, but then I switched over. I got me some Blue Dios, and they work pretty good.
Yeah, I've got what is it called? Afterglow, I think it is. They're wireless, which is why I like them because I can actually get up and walk around while I'm using them. But gosh, the 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 bar across the top like cracked almost immediately. Um, but they work okay.
Yeah, that's what happened to my Beats. The headphones they crack. They're wireless, and but when I'm using Google Plus, I have trouble getting the wireless to actually work good on those. On the laptop, these are the same headsets I was on my phone, but I just jacked them in. So
Alrighty. So, what else? What's in the news, man? What do you want to talk about?
hmm, trying to think. Um, wanted to ask you, did you see that debate between empiricism and negation of fee?
Was that recent?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm following either of them. I do like negation of p stuff. Um, true empiricism's hard to listen to though for me.
I can listen to him. It's just that I noticed him and a lot of the other apologists. They kind of dance around the issue and they bring up things that are off topic. And it's like, can you please just address what he just said, not all this other stuff? Because he's talking about a specific topic, asking you for a single answer to a single question, and you're going all over the place with it. Just to answer one question.
Yeah, there was a JD had a little talk with what's his name also that I did watch that one and it was the same kind of stuff.
Trey,
Say it again.
was it Trey?
Yeah, Trey. Yeah, Trey.
Yeah, I spoke to him briefly once, but yeah, if I ask you a single question, it shouldn't require an exhaustive response that has nothing to really do with the question.
Yeah, I've never talked to Trey. I've talked to let's see who the big ones I've talked to. I've talked to Jungle. Eh, I
Jungle
don't know.
Jargon. Yeah, I haven't talked. I've been in a room with him a few times, but I haven't actually spoken with him.
Him, Darwin's deity. I won't talk to Darwin's deity anymore though.
I hadn't seen him in around. Me and him used to talk, and I used to go. He used to invite me to his hangouts all the time, but I don't think he's on anymore.
I think everybody realized that he wasn't interested in actual conversation. He was just interested in talking, and so they just stopped talking to him.
Oh yeah, he gets cornered pretty easy. Me and him had a discussion on the laws of logic and everything, and that's one of my little pet peeves is on the laws of logic. So
So, what do you think about the laws of logic? What are the laws of logic to you?
that for me that's hard because I don't think we have a word to describe what they are. Like
Are the, are they intrinsic? No, I'm sorry, I had to. No. um. So okay, well let me let you know what I think, and then maybe you can kind of caveat off that. So the laws of logic, just like the scientific laws that we have, are descriptions for basically how stuff works. And so when we say, okay, there's this law of non-contradiction, that A can't be A, or A can't be not A in the same time and same way, whatever. Um, that's not saying that there is a physical law stating that if something tries to be itself and not itself at the same time, that it's going to stop it. It's just that we have realized that this just can't happen. And so we've assigned it and said, hey, look, this is the law of non-contradiction. This is the way we've observed things. This is how it works. And I think it's that way. And honestly, I think everything just kind of follows from that to excluded middle and everything else. And it's just one step after the other. And we realize, okay, look, this is how the stuff works. So we're going to assign names to it and then go from there.
but do you regard them to be absolute?
Do I regard them to be absolute? I have no idea.
See, that's usually the question we get into is, well, not really. It's an absolute. Most people I talk to agree that they are absolute. They would apply in all possible worlds. There's not a possible world where they would be falsified.
Yeah, I have no idea what other possible worlds could look like or could behave like. So, I mean, I honestly don't know. I know in this world, the one that we're living in, they seem to hold up exclusively and permanently. But I don't know. I think as with our scientific laws, even they could see a revisal at some point in the future. I think we've thought about them enough at this point that they're probably pretty solid. But um, I don't think that I could I don't think anybody could speak on another possible world without being in it. Like it's kind of
Well, you really wouldn't have to look at the actual possible world. You just have to look at the laws in that. Well, what they say is that something can't be what it is and what it's not at the same time in the same way. And then, and my whole argument is you can't even imagine these laws to be false.
Well, yeah, but if it's stuff that's limited to our imagination, that doesn't really get us far. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because we're
I, I'm not saying that you can imagine it. I'm saying no one can imagine it to be false.
well, what I'm saying is that doesn't mean anything.
Well, if it can't be imagined in any possible way, how could it be true? Because you can imagine possible worlds, but you can't imagine the absolutes to be false.
Right, but there's a lot of stuff that people probably can't imagine.
Like what?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
I know. Yeah.
like
See,
because I can't imagine it.
well, no. This is what me and Darwin got into because he was like, he said I was doing the what is it, black swan fallacy. If you only saw black swans, then you would assume that there were only black swans.
Right.
And I told him it wouldn't work in this case because what I'm saying is, even though I've only seen black swans, I can imagine a swan being another color. I can imagine a pink swan or a yellow swan or a red swan because that could be possible. I can imagine that, but I cannot imagine that it could be a swan and a skyscraper at the same time. I can
Well, you
imagine
could. Well, I think that's a little different because you could have a skyscraper in the shape of a swan, and that would be a swan and a skyscraper.
the skyscraper fly.
Hey, you put some rockets on it, it could fly.
Yeah,
But
I
I
don't
mean,
think it'd be a swan though. I don't think it'd be a living swan skyscraper.
I think at that point, I think part of it is semantics too,
Well, well, you
because
could say that, but when I once again, I can you can imagine multiple possible worlds. There's possible worlds you can imagine. Just you know, you can go all day imagining possible worlds, but there is no point where you can imagine that the laws of logic to be falsified.
yeah, I can kind of go with you there. Because I mean, but again, like I say, it is kind of semantic because it's due to our language, the way that we use our language. So I can say that my pencil can't be a pencil and not a pencil at the same time because not obviously negates the fact that it's a pencil. So then it no longer can be a pencil, but it is a pencil, so it doesn't make any sense. Um, so I think that is kind
Yeah,
of semantic
yeah,
in that way.
yeah. We got into the same problem where Darwin would say he all he had to do is reject my definitions, and I told him, well, you'd have to give a reason for rejecting my definitions or offer a better one because we went to the married bachelor thing, and he said by definition, well, I told him by definition, a bachelor can't be married, and he said, well, all I have to do is reject your definition. And I was like, well, I guess you could reject my definition if you had reason to reject it, but then you would have to give another definition. But he refused to give. He said he didn't have to give another definition. He can just simply reject my definition.
Well, can't reject your definition if you're explaining what your definition is. Like if you say a bachelor is somebody who is married, therefore there's no such thing as, or a bachelor is somebody who is not married. Therefore, there's no such thing as a married bachelor.
Right. And his response was, all I have to do is just reject your definition. And I was like, well, no, not really. Rejecting my definition doesn't get you anywhere unless you actually give a reason to reject the definition. Just rejecting it because you want to doesn't make your argument valid.
Well, and you can. It just makes you look stupid because all we're doing with words is assigning labels to concepts,
Right.
and so if we don't agree on the label, that's fine. We'll choose another label. But at some point, the concept of an unmarried person, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because that's why that was part of my argument. If it's not possible by definition, and that's why he said that he just had to reject my definitions. Because I brought up round squares and everything like that. And he said all I have to do is reject your definition. I'm like, well, no, you can't just reject it. You have to give a reason to reject
Well, and if you do that, all I have to do is reject your definition of God, and then he doesn't exist. Boom.
it.
Sorry.
Right. Well, I knew rejecting the definition. He literally had to give a reason why he was rejecting the definition, and then of course provide another one.
Right. Hey, Amon.
Hi, Elephant.
What's up, man?
Oh, what's up? I was called into this hangout. Unfortunately, I had some factoring of polynomials to do for algebra. So,
Oh, that
uh,
is fantastic stuff right there.
yeah, no, math is awesome. Math is great. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an incredibly fun subject at school, especially it's like a puzzle. It's like you're given a Sudoku. Well, nothing like Sudoku, obviously. I mean, it's definitely a different method. But I mean, it's similar to the enjoyment you get out of a Sudoku puzzle. It's really fun.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, M had linked me in because supposedly you guys were talking about the FE business, and I know you know what that is. FE.
Yes, yes. Fe, iron, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say it. Flat Earth. So yeah,
No.
yeah. Okay, so the good thing though, and the thing that I've noticed is I looked at Google Trends, and I typed in flat Earth to Google Trends, and yeah, the movement at this point, or if you can even call it that, small disgruntled group of bloggers and YouTubers, kind of failing.
It's
Um,
it's it's trending downward.
and well, some would say fortunately, for some of my other friends would say unfortunately. Yes, but it is. And basically, what happened is a lot of people realized there are many geometric impossibilities that you really can't account for. Within their model, and I'm just going to say it out for the model doesn't work at all. It's garbage.
Right.
Like you try to apply it into any real world situation involving astronomical objects. It fails uniformly.
Right.
Probably the biggest example of this I could probably give is okay. So according to them, the moon is basically somehow orbiting basically around the equator 3,000 miles directly above the flat planar surface of the Earth. So here's the thing. The moon is going to go from a distance, like if I was standing near the equator, the moon would go from a distance of only 3,000 miles all the way to 16,000 miles at its furthest point. And so, pretty much anybody who's taken a trigonometry class will know that, there's a thing called angular size. It can be measured in either minutes, even seconds.
Yep.
So basically what it is it's used to, measure how a person would perceive the size, how many basically degrees of their, field of view it takes up. And so the calculation, if you do a simple calculation, which is really not that hard, it's actually simple multiplication really, you'll get sort of a value of, okay, so at the equator looking directly above you, you'll get something like, and I'm going to say it in minutes, so there's 60 minutes in 1 degree, so just
Right.
to review. So basically you'll get something like 52 minutes, which actually we normally observe this the moon at a scale of between 30 and 32 minutes in size. So it'll go all the way from 52 minutes when it's right directly above you, and it'll shrink down to 12 minutes in size. Which actually, if you want a good reference for that, that would be about 3 times the size of Jupiter. Which, if you've ever seen Jupiter through yeah, it's really small.
Yeah,
It's the size of a large crater on the moon. From any perceivable thing. Just kind of to go off on a rant here. There's also the whole thing about the size of Australia, and that's the one thing that I think if you tell anyone about it, it's like an instant absolute debunk. You can't argue. I'll give you an example. So according to them, it's the Earth has a similar size to what we know it to be today. So it's the distance between the South Pole. Well, according to them, it doesn't exist, but it's they can pretty easily prove that. But the distance between the South Pole and the North Pole, as we all know, is about 12,000 miles. If you multiply that by 2, you get 24,000 miles, which is the circumference of the Earth, and what they say the diameter of the flat disk is. Well. Let's see. What's interesting is, so if you go out 8,000 miles from the North Pole, so it's kind of hard to visualize if I'm talking about it. I could bring up like some kind of rendering software, but I think you could get it. If you go out, if you draw a line from the center of that disk, which is the North Pole, 8,000 miles out, you've reached the latitude of Australia relative to the FE map. Now, here's what you do. We know for a fact, driving from Sydney to Perth, will take you roughly 2,200 miles. And the extra 200 can be added because of the squiggles in the road, but it's fairly straight. I mean, you can go through Adelaide, and there's also the it takes less time to drive from Sydney to Perth than it does from New York to San Francisco. But and anyway, I'll get past that. So we know for a fact, with the amount of people that have driven it and the amount of people that have flown it, well, actually, Qantas does 10 flights a day between the two locations. We know for a fact that Australia is almost approximately 2,000 miles wide. So it's a little bit smaller, right, than the United States. The United States is a little bit wider than Australia. So here's the thing. If on a flat disk, what you do is so you're 8,000 miles out, right, from the center, and you draw I mean, this is simple geometry as well. You draw... but going between Sydney and Perth, I should also probably mention that you cross 35 degrees of longitude. So that's how many longitude lines you pass in going between those two locations. So if you bring out, and everybody would know that there are 360 degrees of longitude, just like there are in a circle, and basically they're evenly spaced throughout the Earth. So here's the thing. So basically, what we do is then we bring that cord from, or that line out from the center of the flat disk, and then you draw 35 degrees of arc, and then you get the distance between basically the 35 degrees of arc. It's something like 5,000 miles. So for Australia, for the continent of Australia to conform to the size that it needs to cross 35 degrees of longitude, it has to be over 5,400 miles wide, which is almost 3 times the size we know it to be. So yeah, that's your first problem, and actually that's the main just issue you can't argue with. The other thing is that basically what happens is you have to F up the geometry really bad if you go from a sphere to a flat disk. Just to give you an example, so basically, if I was on a sphere and I drew a line from one pole to the other, directly opposite to each other, and then I did that 360 times, so I had 360 degrees around that sphere, you'd notice that the distance between each individual degree line would increase until I reached the equator, and it would reach its maximum, and then it would decrease as I went south, because the southern and northern hemispheres are completely symmetrical. So yeah, so then what you'll see is that on the idea, if the Earth is spherical, then you should expect that and you can actually basically quadratically graph the increase in distance between individual longitude lines. But if you do the calculations on a sphere, 2,000 miles at about 33 degrees, between 35 and 33 degrees south, should be about 35 degrees.
Yeah. There's the thing that I was talking about earlier was just a simple one, because if we go out on the equinox and we go to the equator and we turn 90 degrees from north, we're going to see the sun if it's daytime, right?
Yeah.
And however, if you look on, this is my crude flat Earth model kind of thing here. So if you look, we got our North Pole here, and then we got the edge of the disk, and then we got our equator. But if you're on the equator here and you turn 90 degrees and the sun's over here, then you're not going to see the sun if you turn 90 degrees.
Exactly. So, hey, I don't have that. I don't have anything like that drawn in front of me. But do you have a pencil elephant by any chance?
I do.
Right next to you. Okay. Yeah. Could I command you on something to do? It's a cool demonstration.
Where'd it go? Here it is. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So grab a pencil. So what I want you to do is I want you to draw a circle. That's the first thing I want you to do.
I can draw a perfect circle. Hold on. Let me get my compass.
Sweet. Yeah. Get the compass. Sweet. Okay, so yeah, now we have the compass, and now we're on the way to getting a perfect circle. Perfectly. There we go, there we go. It's coming along. Okay, perfect circle. Now, what I want you to do is, at about half of the radius of that, draw a smaller circle, so a concentric circle within that.
At about half the radius?
You could go a little bit more just so it's easier to see, and it's easier to use the compass. But yeah, just as long as it's concentric and inside, the circle should be good.
Okay, that's fine. I just, if it needed to be, because I went over how to do a perpendicular bisector and stuff like that earlier. Cool. So I was like, cool. If it needs to be half, I can do half.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so now this is what we have. Okay, so obviously on the day of the equinox, by the prediction of a flat Earth model, that would be the path of both the sun and the moon during the equinox would be directly over the equator. Now, here's the thing: that is the required path of the sun if the AE map, is the true map of the Earth. That would no one would dispute that, right? That has to be the true map of the Earth or the true path of the sun. There's no other option.
Right.
So yeah, then what I want you to do is I want you to make a tick mark just somewhere on that inside circle.
Yep.
Just make a little
Got
mark.
it. Bam.
Okay, perfect. So that represents Sao Paulo in Brazil. So basically, what the person sees, what an observer sees for the sunrise is actually in the summer. Actually, I don't know if it's year round. I think it's in the summer. I could check this later, but I know for a fact that in the summer, and I've been to the southern hemisphere. I've been to New Zealand and Australia. I visited both countries. What happens is during the summer, the sun rises basically at a position to your southeast. So it rises at a position to your southeast, and then it sets then at a position to your southwest. So what I
Right.
want you to do is I want you to draw two tick marks. So one is basically going to be slightly southeast of that, and slightly slightly southwest of the other.
How
Of the
slightly? Like here?
here, remove the pencils so I can see.
Like here?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So put it right there. Okay, yeah, and then do the same on the opposite side of that other tick mark. So yeah, and then what I want you to do is I want you to connect those in sort of a curving motion.
Alrighty. I can do that.
Or yeah, actually,
Oh. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got
yeah,
you. I
okay,
got you.
perfect, yeah. So basically, what you've just done is you've tracked the path of the sun in Sao Paulo. Now we know for a fact that in the southern hemisphere, basically the sun sets toward a southward direction. So, do they mean to tell me that the sun is somehow traveling in a spirally loop-de-loop fashion?
I,
Because according to their model, the sun should be setting. Well, the sun shouldn't set at all. I'm just going to say that firstly. But for the sake of argument, let's say it does set. It should set in the northeast,
yeah.
or it should set in the northwest, not the not the southwest. So here's the thing. Now you see that there's like this sort of massive, sort of like if you were to continue that pattern from location to location, it would look something like little triangles jutting out from that. You're not a Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. So that's what it would look like. Well, if you close that, southern hemisphere down back to a sphere, then it becomes a straight line.
Interesting.
So yeah, so actually, if you were to close that, then the path of this, if you were to close that at the bottom, the path would make perfect sense. But on a disk, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. These people are frustrating. I've had run-ins with them
Well,
over the
I've got a Hakan in the room now. Hakan, hello. Are you there?
Hakan.
Yeah,
Hakan?
maybe he's having a mic problem. Um,
Okay, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Edmund, have you been to? You said you've been to Brazil?
Actually, well, no, I've never been to Brazil. I haven't been to South America at all. I've been to New Zealand and Australia, so both
Okay.
places.
In
I
Australia,
was into.
somebody told me that they take flights from Sydney to Brazil, and it passes by Antarctica, and they take that flight once daily.
Nope, actually, it's not there. Actually, you would run out of fuel if you tried to go between those two locations. They're literally on opposite sides of the Earth. But
Which
further
one?
south in South America, you can get directly to South America from Australia. That's Qantas and LAN Chile. They both do flights
Yeah.
directly from Sydney to Santiago de Chile. They did do one to Buenos Aires in Argentina, but unfortunately they couldn't They couldn't, they didn't have enough people annually flying that route to make it profitable, so they ended up cutting it. But
No,
yeah, and I mean,
yeah, they said if you look it up right now on like Travelocity, if you put it in from San Pablo to Sydney, they run that flight every day.
they
So
do, yes, they run it every day, and I should probably also mention that there's actually people who have heard about this whole, FE discussion, and what they've done is they've actually taken the flight themselves and like video recorded. So, you have your occasional person to claim it's fake, but that whole, basically the whole rift about distances in the southern hemisphere has pretty much destroyed their claims. I'll give you an example. Now, Elephant, am I right or am I wrong? Did you a few months ago not have a debate with Jamal Williams?
I think you're wrong. I might have talked with him, but the name doesn't sound familiar. I
Yeah,
haven't I haven't really debated anybody.
okay, yeah, I have to actually, like, I admire him actually. He was originally buying into all this stuff, but then he took a step back and said, "Whoa, I'm being bombarded with claims. Let me actually, look at these from sort of an objective standpoint and do real research into what's going on." And he was actually somebody who came out of that, FE belief system, which I'm proud of him for doing that. I haven't hardly ever seen many people do that, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that's
who was it?
Jamal Williams.
Oh yeah, he's still a geocentrist. So
Well, baby steps,
yeah, one
yeah,
step at a time.
well, I asked him because he was telling me. I said, on a stationary Earth, how does tides and waves work? And that kind of got him.
Yeah, well, actually, probably. Okay, there are so many things that are. There's so many things that are so terribly wrong with the idea of geocentrism. I could go over many of these. Probably one thing is retrograde motion,
So
physically seeing the planet.
real quick, because I know there's two different ones. So geocentrism is the Earth is the center of. Is it just the solar system or center of the universe?
Center of the entire universe, and most
Okay.
geocentrists don't actually believe that. So they believe that the solar system as a whole, what we observe, exists, but they don't believe. They believe sort of like here. How do I explain it? So, sort of there's a limit imposed. So here's the thing: if we see everything in the observable universe go around the entire Earth in 24 hours, so in one rotation of the Earth. Now, what would have to happen if geocentrism was true is none of those objects, the Earth isn't moving itself, but all of those objects are moving directly around the Earth. So what you'd require is, if you look at the distances to places like Andromeda, which by basically the amount of redshift that we observe, that astronomers observe, the distance can be measured to something like 2 million light years. So an incredible distance. That would be impossible in a geocentric universe because if basically those are rotating around the Earth around the Earth, the center point in the universe at once every 24 hours, they'd be going like something like 6,000 times the speed of light. And we obviously all know that people in particle accelerators in Illinois and at CERN and at many other places on Earth, they've tried as hard as they can to accelerate a particle past the speed of light. But to this day, they've gotten to 99.9999998. So they've gotten 6 significant figures, in past the decimal point towards the speed of light, but they've never reached it with anything that has mass. So yeah, so that's sort of like the immutable problem with geocentrism. The other thing is that so a lot of geocentrists propose that there's sort of like this. It's like sort of a 6. So basically, it would be what was it? I heard it'd be like something like 20 astronomical units, as in radius away from the Earth. But what it would basically be is it'd be like this giant sort of crystal ball in which the entire universe is encased in, and you have the planets going around the Earth, and then you have this giant crystal ball, which is basically just filled with projections of stars and galaxies, moving around the Earth. And so a lot of times that's how they get past it. But then, explaining supernovas and gravitational waves observed, from the collision of black holes, it just, yeah, there's no redeeming qualities in the belief system whatsoever.
Right. So they basically say that there's like this big giant, almost Dyson sphere around the
Exactly,
solar
Dyson
system.
sphere.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, there's too much that we see out in the universe that we can observe, and we observe changes. Obviously
Changes in it.
that happened. Millions and billions of years ago. That doesn't make sense at all. Unless
Yeah, exactly. In the past, I've gotten into debates with flat earthers, and if they here's what I've figured out over my time with talking to these people. If they ever just flat out say, like, if you ever try to make sort of a argument towards them about the motion of an object, a celestial object, like, I don't know, the transit of Venus not having a wide enough angle to be the distance that they say it is. They'll just say, oh, they're just lights in the sky. Like, at that point, they've literally lost all acknowledgement of the physical universe beyond Earth, and so it's pointless talking to them at that point, because they're just going to bring that excuse up every time you mention it to them.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to do this hangout, and the one I did about a week ago or so was just to show people that these silly claims that are out there, a lot of them, if you just take your simple math that you learned from high school, you can plot a couple points out and then realize it's all bogus.
Yeah, but math is all a lie. And I've had people argue that before. I seriously have. Let's see, Elephant, you wouldn't mind me screen sharing something, would you?
Sure, go ahead.
Actually, wait, never mind. I can't do a video on it. But basically, there's this guy called Chris Fritz. And whenever you'd make an argument, so in his comment section, so he posts a lot of the videos about this particular topic. And so whenever you'd make a comment, basically referencing any form of mathematics, he would just say, oh, you're indoctrinated, mathematics is all fake. And I was like, okay, wait. So he had, so let's see, what was I going to say? Okay, so he left there's this guy named Spy Sparklane who had left a comment basically in one of his videos. Now, basically, Chris, what he was asking is, he was like sort of making an argument from incredulity by saying, he was like, okay, he's like, so scientists claim that you could see Jupiter and other planets, from a distance of hundreds of millions of miles with a simple telescope. But why can't I, with that same telescope, see a tick on my balls from 10 miles away? I'm not kidding. That's what he said. And so Sly Sparklane, commented to him. He was like, that comparison might be cute and all, but I mean, if you really get down to the math, then so basically what he did is he was like, the angular size of a tick is usually about the actual size of a tick is usually less than a millimeter. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that, okay, you take that out over 10 miles, and it's something like 0.001 arc seconds. So incredibly tiny. I should probably state that. And then you take an object like Jupiter, which by relatively simple parallax measurements with the transit of Jupiter's moons, you could realize is quite a few 100,000 miles in diameter. So basically, if you take the given size of Jupiter and then you see how far away it is from Earth, and then basically what you do is you calculate the angular size at that distance, you get exactly what it is observed to be. And so Chris proceeded in the next comment to just say, oh, that math is all fake. Okay, he literally just said multiplication is fake. That's literally all he was doing. He was multiplying, he was basically getting the angular size basically by using the spread of the object, which is 1/2 the size at 1/2 the distance, known by a lot of people. So he got that, and then he got the and then basically what he did is just like, okay, I have a telescope that can do this, so I'm going to times it by the amount of magnification. It should appear this many times bigger. So all he was referencing was multiplication, and then the guy was like, yeah, that multiplication's fake. I've No, yeah, so it goes to that level of I don't even call it stupidity anymore. I more think of it now as I've gotten wiser with dealing with these people. It's mostly mental illness
Well, that's
that is
it's
playing.
yeah.
Hey, Ellison, I gotta take off. I gotta go help hang some
Okay,
leaves.
I'll see you. It's good
Okay,
to
have
have
fun,
Tommy in
Gary.
the room.
I'm gonna post this link here for it's from what is it? Cold Hard Facts about geocentrism. I think you'll find it.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
I'll catch y'all later.
Take it easy. See you
All right.
again.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you. Bye.
it's funny to say like I don't understand how you could possibly say that math isn't real because it is literally the one thing that we can actually prove. Like it's the one
Like that
thing
you
that
can
you can go look.
absolutely
This
like
works
yeah.
every time.
Well, math is conceptual, so perhaps it's not real in a nuts and bolts and a test tubey kind of a
That
scientific
might
way.
be what they're trying to argue. Maybe I don't know.
Objective
Well,
truth,
yeah,
yes.
but you can bring it to a realistic, you know, a realistic way. You know, you look at simple addition and you say, "Hey, I have one pen. I have another pen. That's 1 plus 1. Now I have 2 pens," and you can see it in action. Or you can say, "Hey, I have 2 times 5 pens, which means I have either 2 groups of 5 pens or 5 groups of 2 pens, and that's
Yeah.
10 pens every
You know,
time."
there's exactly yeah. There's also a thing about geometry. If you can, so we know that there are certain constants and rules about the properties of certain shapes that we can basically use to infer things about the universe we see around us. That's how we got a lot of the measurements, the distances between certain planets and certain
Mm.
uh, astronomical objects. And so if you know the properties of a triangle, and you know that you're never going to have more than 180 degrees in a Euclidean triangle. That's fact in geometry. Then you can infer that if have 3 survey points on the surface of the Earth, and the angle between them is more than 180 degrees, then you're standing on a non-Euclidean plane, which means it's evenly curved in every single direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, but take St. Tommyometry, the newest of mathematical theories. Uh, you know, it exists. It is real. Yes, I haven't quite revealed it yet, but yes, it is real. Well,
Sweet.
maybe. Yeah, yeah. It's subjectively proven. It's the evidence for mathematics is subjectively beheld. Maybe. I don't know. I don't understand half of what these words mean, but they're fun to use anyway.
Well, it's just
Yeah. Well.
you
Oh,
can
Oh,
you
sorry.
can put a lot of this stuff down on paper. You know what I mean? Like that's really the hard thing about it is you can if you draw 3 straight segments and they all connect, that's a triangle. And we can measure all the angles and they will always add up to 180 degrees. And we know, if it's a right triangle that, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we know if we know 2 angles and a side, we can construct the rest of it. Like it continually works and we can measure it and figure out that it's true.
So if two people see it and agree on it, then it is real. And mathematics became real when 2 rascals got together and proved it to each other or beheld it, maybe.
Yeah, actually, one interesting thing I wanted to bring up, in the topic that we were discussing earlier, Elephant, was the first survey or first land survey of the United Kingdom. So basically, of the Britannia, the Great
Right.
Island. So basically, there was one observer that was positioned in Bristol. Now, this is on the same day. One observer in Bristol, one in Newcastle, Tyne and Wear, County Durham, which is in the northeast, and then there was another at where was I think he was in Oxfordshire. And so basically, what the people in these 3 different locations did is they pointed. So you know how you have degrees on a compass, right?
Yeah.
They pointed their theodolites at the exact degree to which a straight line would hit that city that they were pointing. So they pointed exactly at this, the other observer, the exact position. And I mean, I'm talking about within like a tenth of a degree on the compass. So it's really accurate. And so what they did was they pointed these, and basically what they did is once the other person was able to receive it or receive confirmation by telegram. This was a long time ago too. It was, I think in the 1890s. Once the other person received by telegram that it was pointed at them, what they did is they pointed their other theodolite or surveying instrument at the other person. And what they were able to do is they were able to actually measure the angle between in which these people were pointing their relative theodolites. And so what they found was that the triangle that was generated had a total number of degrees of 183. So there are 3 extra degrees, which would make it being on a flat surface impossible, since it would have to be
Euclidean.
non-Euclidean, yes, for it to add those extra degrees. So which would mean that it have to be curved.
Right.
So yeah, I brought that up. You bring these people have sort of like a this strange desire where they always want you to do the experiment yourself instead of just relying on what data that other people have written down, because obviously it's part of the conspiracy, right?
Oh, of course. And that's
So, yeah.
And like I said, that's I love doing this stuff on paper to where you can actually do it yourself and show and be like, look, this stuff doesn't hold up. And
Yeah, see, actually what like I said, what's so funny to me is actually they use a logical fallacy, which is known as the Verta fallacy. It's actually something that's always incredibly fun to bring up. It's basically a person's argument, in essence, becomes that any evidence against my conspiracy is evidence that there's a cover-up to cover up the conspiracy. So it becomes sort of like a never-ending loop, and they can't get themselves out of it. And so it's getting into a situation where you could never possibly consider that this evidence goes against your conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory is wrong. No, it doesn't. It doesn't click like that in their heads. It goes, oh, somebody's trying to cover it up even more.
Well, that brings something to mind too. To get maybe stray a little bit away from the flat Earth topic. It popped into my head. It says in the Bible, oh, there will be doubters, and so that exactly mimics what you're talking about with the conspiracy theories. Because as soon as you say, oh well, I doubt this. Oh nope, it said there would be doubters. Haha, I'm right.
Yes, one of my many holy Bibles, the holy Bibles that I have, one of them has in it printed in the USA. But I'm not sure if I hold that to be true. It could have been smuggled over the Canadian border. There was some contention about the border at the time of printing, historically speaking, but the history could have been refabricated, so it all gets foggy fast. But I'm not sure if I believe everything that is written in one of my many translations and versions, and what do they call those things? Redactions? No, canons. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if I qualify as a certifiable doubter or not, but oh well.
Now, yeah. I know. Saint Tommy, you are a Christian, and I respect you for that.
I am in Christ Jesus, and I hold belief in Christ Jesus, usually during waking moments, mind you.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So let's see. I will admit though that that's been an argument. Though that people saying that, oh, the Bible's true because it says there's going to be doubters in the Bible, and look, you're doubting, so therefore it's true. But what's kind of interesting to me is let's see, Elephant just ran off. I'll wait for him to get back.
Good. I had a doubtful thought. I think yesterday. It's kind of like passing.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah. Wait. I don't think your mic's on. No, I can't.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, but I had a doubtful thought yesterday. It happens. It's kind of like passing gas in an elevator, It happens, it happens. But yeah, the flat Earth thing, man. I take many things on authority, and I believe them. What Ms. Smith, my 8th grade science teacher, said the Earth was generally spherical. And I believed her. I took it on authority. But some flat earth-minded peeps are very quick not to take things on authority.
And that's good. That's good. That's good. I would actually agree with that. That's a good thing.
Yes, to maybe question some of these things that are presuppositional. Anyway,
yes, I would agree that that's actually that's generally an awesome thing to do. And if you generally have doubts about something, or you really want to question something, then test it for yourself. But the problem with them to me is that a lot of them basically are intentionally dishonest. So like manipulating data to try to support their conclusions. Using like all of these strange sort of fallacious tactics to try to argue their point.
Disingenuous.
Exactly.
Yes, and it seems like they may be emotionally compelled to do the sidestep shuffle, and change the subject, or not acknowledge a particular refutation, or maybe even mischaracterize a refutation if they even hear it to begin with, if their mind isn't racing so fast that they don't even hear it. But yeah, emotional bunch of thinkers. Some of us here on G+, yes. One thing I like to do is to claim the truth that I don't know. I'll go into a flat earth room or a flat earth. I'll go into a flat earth room and be forthright that I do not know, how flat the earth is. My yard is flat, and that kind of puts the burden of proof on them a little bit to prove things. They see me as a potential convert, but anyway, I do preach to my eardrums often.
Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Coming through gloriously.
Okay, gosh. I don't know what the hell happened. That was weird. Hello.
Yes, indeed.
That's not Amon. Who's hello?
No. Hey, hello there. I'm Eamon's dad.
Okay, hi. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I know Eamon gets a good kick out of hanging out with you guys.
And we are benefited by his most excellent reasoning and wondrous showmanship. And yes, he's a great man. He is.
He's pretty animated. He's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yes, that's an understatement. Truly, almost a prodigy of sorts.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know where it comes from. Me and my wife are both people of few words, actually.
Your humility is noted. Yeah.
Yeah.
He makes up for it.
Yeah, really. So, Tommy, you're in Charlotte. I suppose Avon's probably told you I'm from Columbia, South Carolina.
Ah, a fine town that is. A fine town, right down I-77. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Been away for many years. Went to school down in Charleston, and been here in the Northwest for a long time. I was a business major at the College of Charleston.
Yes.
Many moons ago.
Goes by fast.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Looks like Tommy got an HD camera.
I got a.
I don't mean to be unkind. Excuse me. I'll try and tone it back a little bit. But please continue.
All right. I just got an email from a buddy of mine who I worked with here in Portland area, who has lived for the last couple years in Auckland, in Sydney, Australia. His wife got transferred out there, and now he's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, I think his wife got transferred back to the States, and they wound up in Charlotte. And he's having a really rough time adjusting to the South. He's never lived in the South.
It is a unique place. I've found the South to be a little bit underrated. Myself, but yeah, adjustments to any new culture. Finding a new grocery store, new friends, so many things.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's good to meet you guys, and I won't hang up your hangout, but
Thank you. Come again soon, please.
I
Absolutely.
will. I will.
You're
I'm
always
sure
welcome.
Eamon will be back here in a heartbeat.
As he rips the
All in good time.
earbuds from your head.
With that on phone.
Oh, political caucus people.
You know, it's funny you're talking about I-77. I used to live further north, right off of I-77 in Ohio.
Is that right? I'm getting ready to go through there on a pilgrimage.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
where to?
sweet.
I'm heading up to some exotic place somewhere way up north, someplace, Dimani, Iowa. Yeah.
Iowa.
Money, Iowa.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
and that's,
great. Yeah.
that's a brave move for me, you know, or excuse me, a brave endeavor for me. I haven't been on such a such a challenging pilgrimage in many years, several years, even 3 years. Yes, I've
You
never
know,
even.
Tommy, probably the most interesting pilgrimage I've ever been on is if you could even call it a pilgrimage. I did feel like a pilgrim, though, going there. When I went to Hong Kong.
Oh gosh, that must have been awesome.
Oh, yes. Hong Kong is probably one of the best places I've ever been. It's it's a highly capitalistic place, one of the most wealthy cities in the world. Not necessarily that the people are very wealthy, but incredible amounts of wealth pass through that city every year. Besides just that, another thing I wanted to say about it was that it's incredibly safe. There's incredibly good food there. It's very beautiful once you get up above the city into the hills. Well, there are some bad parts as well. It is quite crowded. It's a city of 8 million people, in about the size of the city as a whole is about the size of Rhode Island, but I mean it is pretty densely populated, about 8 million people.
I think
Yeah.
Manhattan's up to 11 million. But I also I found Brooklyn to be stunningly beautiful.
Yeah. Brooklyn's great.
You ever been to Singapore?
It's very similar to Hong Kong, actually.
Yes,
No, I have not. My mom has.
How about Bangkok?
My mom's been there as well, but I've never been there.
Yeah, I've never made it to any of those places except Brooklyn, and Manhattan, which I found stunning and beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Manhattan's great. I've only ever been to New York once, and I was 6 years old when I was there. Don't remember too much of it, but that's okay.
That's pretty young to be rolling around up in that place, but yeah.
Yeah, I was up around there. I've actually still got pictures of the Twin Towers and everything back when they were still standing. It's nice to have that kind of thing.
Wow, you don't look much past your 30s. You must have been quite young. You must have been a teenager when you were there.
Yeah, I was in junior high. We had it was a school trip. We got to see a lot of the sites, Empire State Building, all that fun stuff. Went to Six Flags there.
Yeah.
But,
I got busted at the second Sky Lobby during construction, trying to make it.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not a base jumper, but I am a climber. It was the past adrenaline addiction,
We found Spider-Man.
Trying to make it up top, man. But security got us.
What's funny is over the past few weeks, I've recently felt a lot like Eric Cartman. My new catchphrase, whenever displaying satisfaction to another person has been sweet.
Good. Let me tell you, crowing, singing, clocking, popping noises, singing, skipping, hopping, and whistling, it can get beat out of a man, just beat out of him by the sophisticated adults of the world. Yeah. They do crow and sing off it.
Yeah, I've actually, recently I've become quite a good whistler. I remember when I was 5 years old, first discovering how to whistle. I was kind of just going.
Well, Being joyful or happy or fearless sure can incite envy fast, man. I'll tell you. You'd think this was a stinking funeral up in this place sometimes, you know, folks scowling around and all, and you feeling good, you know, a little fearless.
Did
And
you
it's,
just throw up the shocker, St. Tommy?
I beg your pardon? Oh, this?
Did you just throw up the shocker?
Oh, that's a popular sign in my neighborhood. It's a sign of goodwill. And
Is that?
Yes, exactly.
youthful goodwill. Yes.
Elephant, maybe you're not aware.
My son told me about it.
You know, maybe Elephant. I don't think anybody's told you yet, but St. Tommy's quite skilled in ebonics.
Is that so?
I am trained in the linguistic art of ebonic interpretation. Although not once I made it to Savannah and Charleston, South Carolina, I learned that I was not as fluent as I thought I was in translation.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the island.
I have a lot to do, guys. I thought I
Okay.
would just briefly drop in. It was really nice to talk to you, Elephant. Tommy, you are great as always.
I'll tell you, I respect you, man. Looking up to
I
you.
respect you as well, Tommy.
Hey, thanks for coming by, Eamon. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Elephant. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Take it easy.
The elephant in the room. It's good to meet you, sir. Good to meet you. Very much.
I've talked to you in some of M's chats, and I think maybe Nadia's. I think I might have talked to you in Nadia's at one point too.
Two fine rooms they are. Yeah.
They're entertaining, absolutely.
Absolutely. Amusing. Yes. Yes. Do you remember any particular subject matter in which we conversed about? I'm sure you contemplate so many things with so many people that it may be hard to recall.
Well, the times I've been in there, you haven't really said too much. There always ends up being somebody like Darwin in there, Darwin's deity, that tries to, ends up dominating the conversation and stuff. So,
Centerpiece.
So him or Jungle or what's Rational Theist? What the hell is his name? But yeah, so it usually ends up being someone there. So we haven't really talked too much about stuff. I know the basics of your beliefs, but that's about it.
Well, I hope they're not too obnoxious or discouraging in any way.
No.
I hope they're amusing at the least. At the least.
No.
Amusing.
Yeah, no, I have no problems having differing opinions with other people as long as they're willing to give the other side a fair shake, which you seem to be able to do in most of these hangouts. So it's awesome to have you here.
That seems good. I'm not sure if I've ever met two people that had the same beliefs.
Well, yeah,
much less at the same time. I begin to suspect every individual is utterly unique in the beliefs they hold about whatever it is they do, whenever they do. And gee, man, now I don't know if my beliefs are perfectly accurate. I just don't know, and they may be inaccurate or not deeply considered or semi-delusional. Hell, I might be crazy as an outhouse rat or a glorified amoeba. I don't know squat diddly. I don't know. Who am I? Where am I?
Well, let me ask you the $1 million question, and this is the question I love posing to all theists. Okay. Could you be wrong?
Could I be inaccurate?
Could you be wrong about your beliefs in a god?
Well, sir, I'll tell you quite now. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I am most often sincere above all things. But I currently do not hold belief in objective morality. It smells funny, It smells obsolete funny. But so under the right-wrong paradigm, but I will go there.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm sorry, yeah, no, I did.
Absolutely, yes, I could be wrong. I could be delusional at any point. about Christ Jesus himself forgiving our sin, about love being something very real and substantial, about Christ Jesus rising from the dead, or about Neptune, or Alan Watts. Could be wrong about him. Yeah, I could be wrong about anything. Yes, I could simply be mistaken, inaccurate, ill-considered, ill-conceived, poorly conceived, immaturely conceived, dead wrong.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
and it's a brave claim, you know.
no, I appreciate that because
It's most
it's hard
honest.
to find a lot of theists out there that will, agree to the fact that they're human and they could actually have made a mistake, and it puts them on equal footing, and I think that's why it's scary for a lot of them. But
Yes.
I appreciate your honesty in that.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Takes one to know one. You know, it's kind of breathtaking to be truthful in some ways at times. And yeah, whatever it is that one understands, I'll take it down to first person. Whatever it is that I understand sometimes seems very vital to my equilibrium. You know, I ain't got time to go around figuring out all of reality, whether God exists, what he wants, how to work reality. I ain't got time to do that. I really just want to live. And whatever my understanding is, I'm sometimes slow to consider new information, you know, or even pick at the loose ends, the little loose ends of my understanding of reality. You know, it can be very emotionally uncomfortable to even consider new understanding or new possibilities. It can. And yeah, sometimes I can get emotional about it, you know. Don't be picking at my belief system, you know. But how long have you been on G Plus Hangouts?
Not too long, really. I was doing a lot of research before that, and then I found first I found the YouTube section. I've actually been on YouTube. I have another channel. I don't really discuss it because I don't want the two kind of intermingling.
I respect anonymity and insulation, sir.
Um,
Yes, sir.
but yeah, no. More recently, I've decided I created the Elephant in the Room channel as a way to be able to discuss these kind of things, and it's been enlightening. It's been fun, and I love doing it. And I'm gonna start doing more hangouts, and as I see people will actually come in, it's fantastic.
Are you
I've had a
hosting
few
this
viewers.
hangout? Is this your hangout?
Yeah, this is mine. This is me.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I invited some of my associates to
Oh,
join?
by all means, absolutely.
Excellent. Not that you, sir, are a very interesting individual, but I do have a kind streak, and I don't want to burn you out. You know. I
Oh
know.
no, 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 it's fine. No, more people make the conversation a
Yes.
lot of the time. So
Excellent. Cool. Cool. And so you've
yeah.
been on G Plus under this persona or screen name for a couple of months, or participating in Hangout for 6 months, maybe. Or...
About that. That seems about right. I'd have to check my stats
Oh,
and stuff just to
that's cool.
make sure. But yeah, it sounds about right.
Cool. And how many hours a day do you invest here in this good place, in this social venue, on average? Let's say the last month.
Me being on here in rooms, not a whole lot. A lot of times I'll start watching a room and see if there's a topic that actually I can talk about,
Yeah.
and then I'll jump in. But a lot of the times it's not something I'm comfortable with or familiar with enough, and so I'll watch. I watch a lot of YouTube. Well, not so much watch, is like when I'm driving, I'll throw YouTube on my phone and listen to the conversations that people are having, like JD and stuff like that. I'll listen to like TST or something like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Atheist experience. Obviously I'm an atheist, so. But yeah, the atheist experience. A lot of times I'll throw that on YouTube and listen to it while I'm driving to work or what have you.
Oh yeah.
And so that kind of stuff I listen to a lot, and so I hear a lot of it, and I haven't interacted with a lot of it. I started going into, I went into a couple of Nadi's rooms, and then from there, then M was up. I went into TST once, but I didn't find the right spot to actually start talking about something, so I got removed in favor of somebody else, which was fine.
Yeah, yeah. Our JD is active in shuffling the panel. He is, and you know,
Yeah.
it seems good. It seems good, at least for me. It seems good not to take such things personally.
Oh yeah, no, I don't begrudge him that because I understand. If I'm not contributing, definitely have someone in there that is.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Let's see if I can find this little linky here. Yes. Yes. Oh, not to ask your personal and private business between you and reality. Whatever your opinion and experience is your personal and private business. And if you share it with me, it is a privilege for me to receive it, and not my place to deride it or refute it or belittle it in any way. But I am a curious man, and my curiosity is fueled by goodwill. Uh, have you ever held belief in Christ Jesus as a
I have,
oh
I
yeah.
have. Well, and I would well maybe not Christ Jesus, but I still I probably would say that the person of Jesus was a person in history at least.
Right,
Um, but as far as being the son of God and stuff like that, I don't hold to those beliefs anymore. But yeah, I used to for a good chunk of my life. Um, in the beginning, I would say from consciousness to teens, it was sort of a background belief where I always thought it was true, but I never really did anything about it. Um, when I started, uh, well, me and my dad would go to church, and that's when I became actually, I would say, religious. Um, and then from there to adulthood, I believed it fully, and then but I didn't. When I was with my dad, I would go to church, but I wouldn't go to church on my own because it just, I don't know, it just seemed weird. I didn't have a church that I was used to and stuff like that, so it was a very unfamiliar thing to try to just go find a church.
oh,
Um, because my um, well my parents are divorced. One lived on one side of the country, the other on the other. So I would visit my dad during the summer. We'd go to church, and I'd do all kinds of stuff like that. We'd go on, little excursions with the church and outings and whatnot. Um, but when I came back home for most of the year, we weren't. You're fine. Um, bless you. We weren't we weren't very religious, and so we wouldn't go to church. I would go to church with my friend sometimes if I like spent the night at his house on a Saturday. So we'd go to church on Sunday. Um, but at adulthood, I started, having questions, and so I started turning to the Bible and actually reading the Bible more, and just it didn't have the answers that I was looking for. So I started talking to my dad, and he didn't have the answers I was looking for, and so it just kind of went from there. And then I started looking on the internet, started looking for different ideas, and you know, I came to the conclusion that I had probably stopped believing long before I realized it, but I didn't believe anymore.
right, right.
So
Well, thank you for that sincere feedback. Absolutely. I take it that you did call out to the Lord Jesus for help or
yep,
whatever, whatever, perhaps.
yep,
Yes, for
yeah,
anything,
yeah, no,
something.
yep, yep. No, I did. I mean, I remember the first time I did vividly. Um, I remember being baptized. I remember. I mean, it was all like when I was baptized. It wasn't like I was 6-year-old that didn't understand things. I was a teenager. I didn't understand everything, although I thought I did.
Oh yeah.
But I was making my own decisions at that point, and so um,
Over the age of bar mitzvah or something like that, perhaps.
yeah. Hello, enlightened. How are you?
Hello. Good, thank you.
Fantastic. So yeah,
It's
but yeah,
nice.
no,
Nice to hear somebody with some good vision. Gosh.
I prayed regularly. Not every day. I'm not gonna, say I was, devout or anything, but I did pray. Um, but yeah, it's just I never really felt anything from it,
Right?
and
Do you value kindness?
it depends. Um,
Good. Good.
yeah, I definitely value kindness to a point, but there's definitely times where being kind is not the right answer.
Apt or appropriate or.
Right.
I hear you. I hear you. Hmm.
So yeah, kindness for kindness sake is a silly concept to me. Just being kind to everybody,
Oh
for
yeah.
no reason. But it should start there. But if the reciprocation isn't there and you don't need that, then yeah, there's
Well, I guess one doesn't have time to stand and hold the door open for all of humanity.
yeah,
Got to move along here. But and that's one way to be kind is to hold the door open to somebody, maybe. But got to move along.
right.
Do you value being truthful?
Yeah. And again, I think it's as with a lot of things, it's situational. You should definitely try to be as truthful as possible, but there are obviously situations where being truthful would
Be
you know
harmful or
be
hurtful?
harmful and damage the situation. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. Um, uh, do you have a distaste for lying?
Um, I don't know.
Oh, reasonable answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a distaste for it. I tend not to. Like I said, unless there's
A particular good reason
right,
or quality reason, or yeah, I hear you.
right. I try to be as honest as possible, but yeah, in certain situations, it's just not feasible.
And sometimes, honesty. Yeah, too honest. I don't need to be
Oh,
telling my wife that dress doesn't look nice.
exactly.
Yeah, and being honest about the dangers of, let's say, socialist ideology in a kindergarten. That might be a little too honest. I mean, I don't know if there are any dangers of socialist ideology. I've never met any, but uh, yeah, a matter of timeliness. Sometimes it's untimely to be truthful, perhaps, and sometimes it's uncharitable to be truthful.
Right.
Anyway, just thinking out loud. That means
I I think there's probably a difference between lying and being dishonest, if that
absolutely,
makes sense.
absolutely, yes.
So I don't think you should ever be dishonest, but at the same time, I don't think that dishonesty is a character trait. I would say, somebody who is dishonest, uses that for personal gain and stuff like that. Whereas, somebody who is honest, I think somebody who is honest could definitely lie,
Oh yes,
but for good reason.
oh yes. All who lie are not liars, and all who are drunk as hell ain't drunkards. Oh
Right.
yeah, that ain't Bible. That's just me some poetry I read. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I hear on these a lot from some of the people is if somebody says even if it is a lie, a lot of times it's a mistake or a slip of the tongue, but even if it is a lie, they're like, oh, you're a liar, you're a liar.
I certify you to be a liar
It's like,
and condemned to hellfire. Yeah, yeah. Certifications fly on G Plus, man. There's some zealous name calling.
oh,
I'll tell you. I got
yeah,
called antinomian. I got called from the pit of hell. I got called. Let's see what else. Disgusting. I did not refute that one. Let's see. Yeah, name calls and certifications. Yep. Wow. Hell, somebody's liable to call me a taco just because I ate one last week, you know, at Taco Bell. That was good too. You know, you are what you eat, you know, some people kind of see things like that, you know, or what you eat 51% of the time. They'll say, oh, you're a taco because you ate a Taco Bell 51% of the time. Therefore, you are a taco. Yeah, man, certifications. I've only gotten one certificate of certification from our good neighbor, Gus Ballinger.
Gus. Yeah,
Yes,
Gus is a
gave
good
me
guy.
a certificate of certification as a free gracer. Oh, man, it's beautiful. It's
A
a
free
beautiful.
gracer.
Yes, a free gracer. I was certified by Gus, who not only holds my respect, but yes, he holds my respect and also gratitude. He holds my gratitude also. But yeah, man, that's a beautiful certificate he sent me in
Uh,
PDF form.
he's he's I like him because he is definitely one of the ones in the room that will stand up for the people getting shouted over and degraded and stuff. He will take his own he'll take his fight to them for them. So
Yes, and a wondrously tenacious communicator uh, with a dedication to excellence. You know, he can't help it. He can't help it. He's yes.
yeah, there's been a lot of good people I've met on here and a lot of people that I'd rather not talk to again. I think I think Darwin's is the only person on here that I will refuse to actually engage with, but he hasn't been seen, so.
I understand. I understand. Yeah, he certainly refused to engage with me. I and that I found that frustrating. I asked him sincerely, "What are you doing? Why? Why are you asking all these questions? Are you trying to promote the truth? Are you trying to refute other people and spread negative vision? Are you trying to suggest that these people are not good? What are you doing?" And he could not answer me.
Yeah, I think I was there when you were talking to him
Is
about
that
that,
right?
actually.
Is that
Yeah,
right? Wow.
yeah, I remember that. I was thinking the same thing along the lines, and I think that's the conversation where I decided not to talk to him because he showed himself to be unwilling to actually have a conversation, like a
Yes.
conversation between people. He
Yeah.
wants to talk all day long, but he
Yes.
doesn't want to receive
He
anything.
does not want to consider what might be plausible or truthful or anything. Yeah, he seemed reluctant to consider anything that he does not understand, or even anything that's not on his itinerary of what's yummy to talk about. You know, he seemed very reluctant to contemplate what might be true. He seemed there to pose false inquiries or pose tricky questions in order to maybe rhetorical questions in order to come to some grand implication that you're a piece of shit
All
like
right.
me. Uh, that's the gist I got of it, and of course it's a subjective opinion. You know, he might be have more noble motivations than that. I should hope so. He seemed like a good man down in there somewhere, but yuck, and double yuck.
Yeah. Well, it is getting a bit late over here, so I think I'm going to call this one
Very
at
good,
this
sir.
point.
Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your hospitality.
Oh,
I will
thank.
take my leave, and God bless you in the name of our Christ Jesus, and I mean that. And again, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. Nice to have other people in here.
Very good. My secretary will send an invoice to yours for services rendered. Thank you.
My people will call your people.